You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogdon.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio. It's the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogdon. Well, wouldn't it be a shame if you built the business, the perfect business, but you allowed your life to be destroyed because you became addicted to something through trying to cope with stress or just trying to deal with life and with anxiety in general? Whatever the addiction is, it can not just destroy your life, it can destroy your business, your relationships, your health, everything that you have worked so hard for. And I think that purpose-driven business entrepreneurs are especially susceptible to that, although it can affect anyone, anywhere, anytime. Today's guest is going to help us figure out one of the gray areas of alcoholism, and she is going to give us the way forward to get out of that addiction. I'm speaking with Carrie Schwier. She is a life learner, a 7-time career path conqueror, a speaker, writer, life coach, mom, and wife for over 30 years, and she is an entrepreneur. She's also a former gray area drinker that was stuck in a place of confusion and wondered how she landed there. Carrie found her way out of the gray area, and it's now her life's passion to help others do the same. Carrie, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
So glad that you could join us. You know, this is not something that I hear talked about a lot on business podcasts. It's all about, how to attract your dream clients and, how to make $1 million in 30 minutes and all kinds of things like that. But not so much, let's deal with the things that nobody else wants to talk about with these issues and problems that crop up from time to time and can really derail business and life and everything else. So I'm really grateful that you're here, and let's talk about this. Let's dive into it. First, my first question in looking at your website and your introduction, what is gray area drinking? What's the gray area there?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So a definition of gray area of anything, particularly in drinking, is a place where someone is drinking more than they should be. They're more than a social drinker, but they're not identifying as an alcoholic. And I wanted to mention to you that alcoholism is a term that is being replaced by the term alcohol abuse disorder. And there are 3 categories of alcohol abuse disorder: mild, medium, and severe. So the gray area covers this wide spectrum of drinkers that are abusing alcohol, but may not consider themselves to the point where they want to identify as having a serious problem, but yet they're secretly questioning their own relationship with alcohol. The gray areas of life in general can cover any sort of self-sabotaging behavior. It could be anything from overeating. It could be social media distractions. It could be staying in toxic relationships or prescription medications. It could be anything that we're doing to numb ourselves and avoid the feelings of feeling bad. So that's really what the gray area encompasses, and the people that I work with fall into that gray area.
Very enlightening. And I love that you put in there the self-sabotaging behavior. It's something that we talk about all the time, but I don't think we have ever thought about it or discussed it in terms of alcohol abuse disorder. What differentiates someone that's just, they used to call it a social drinker.
Yes.
Where is that line? Where do you cross the line from just social drinking to the actual self-sabotaging behavior of alcohol abuse disorder?
That's a great question, Ralph. And the answer is really there. That's a gray area in itself too. It really comes down to the individual and how they're kind of processing, dealing with the stress in their life. Now, according to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, has a section in their website that describes what moderate drinking is. So, moderate drinking for a woman is not drinking more than one standard drink per day. And for men, it's double that. It's no more than 2 standard drinks in a day. So then that comes down to, well, what is considered a standard drink? So a standard drink, right?
I got my big mug over here. Yeah.
Exactly.
I can see where that could really get us into trouble. What is standard?
Yes. So a standard drink, for example, of wine is, and I'm talking regular table wine or regular wine that you would have, not fortified wine. So regular wine, it would be 5 ounces. And if we're talking about beer, it's 12 ounces, unless it is a heavier beer or, like a heavier craft beer, then it's 8 ounces. And for hard liquor, such as whiskey and tequila and gin and vodka, it's 1.5 ounces. So if you really are honest with how much you're drinking, that should tell you if you're falling into this alcohol abuse disorder category or not. So for me, I'll give you an example. I was a wine drinker, and I always thought to myself, well, I'm only having 2 glasses of wine per night, which slowly became a full bottle. But for me, it was only like, the justification, well, I'm only having 1 or 2, when my ounces were more like 8 or 9 ounces each pour. So, clearly I was drinking more than I should be. So it's really important to pay attention to how much you're drinking, but it's not even so much about how much as it is why. And that's really the bottom line here. And as far as entrepreneurs go, I'm relatively a new entrepreneur. I've been doing this a 1.5 years. And I will tell you that I know how easy it is to fall into the self-sabotaging behaviors that we do. And I'm not talking about just drinking. I'm talking about being distracted, avoiding things that you should be doing that you're not doing, or scrolling through social media throughout the day. So there's all kinds of behaviors that we do without even realizing that it's hurting us. And this can be somewhat of a gray area for people that aren't quite seeing that this could be destructive for them in their life, and it's not benefiting them. So it's not just alcohol. That's my story, and that's what I like to talk about is the alcohol piece. But this can cover a multitude of behaviors.
Yeah, there are so many different ways that we can self-sabotage, and hopefully, in most cases, self-sabotage in the context of a business, it means that your business is not going to perform or be as prosperous or be as successful as it might have otherwise been if you would just eliminate that self-sabotaging behavior. What we're talking about here is something that can't not only destroy your business, this can destroy your life, your family, your relationships, your health, as well as your business. What was the turning point for you? What did it take for you to finally realize, hey, 1 or 2 bottles of wine a day is too much?
Well, as far as how much I was drinking, it was about 3 glasses to a whole bottle every single evening. And that was when I got home from work. So I also want to throw in about a gray area drinker. They appear very high functioning from the outside. They appear to have it all together, have a great career, have all the things in life that they wanted, the house, the marriage, the kids, the so forth. And that's all from the outside, but it's the internal kind of questioning is where that gray area comes in terms of them not feeling good about who they are and what they're doing. So that's another layer to describe what a gray area drinker might look like, because they don't look like they have a problem. And that lies the problem.
It's not like the wino lying in the street, with the alcohol in his pocket.
Right. That's right. Nobody's under a bridge.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So for me, it was quite interesting. I started drinking almost every day when I was working in the food and beverage business. I was a food and beverage manager at a country club, and that's really where my my wine addiction began because I was one of the buyers for the country club. And then I was pairing the chef specials with the wine. And I really became accustomed to what is considered fine wine and having a really good palate to understand what the different varietals were. And so for me, it was a romance type thing. I associated wine with, class and romance and all the things that we think about when we think of wine and brandy or bourbon is another big one right now, right? There's this kind of sophistication with it. So that was my excuse. Everybody's doing it. I'm just like everyone else. I'm drinking like everyone else. So I thought. And I had a friend say to me one day, Carrie, I'm noticing that, you've been saying that you've been drinking almost every night. You doing okay with that? And I was like, yeah, why are you asking? She's like, well, I'm just concerned about you. That's all. I just want you to know I'm concerned about you. And that was in 2014. What that friend did for me was plant a seed. She planted a seed for me to start looking at my relationship with alcohol in a different way. Now, did I quit drinking? Did I make any changes? No, I didn't. I continued to drink just as I was for another 2 years. I finally got to a point which I describe as my own enough. And my own enough is different from somebody else's enough. Nothing happened. I did not have a rock bottom. I wasn't forced to quit. My husband didn't leave me. I didn't lose a job. I never was late for work. I didn't have anything from the outside world that said I had a problem. And that's another identifier of someone who is in the gray area. They don't have any outside issues pressing on them outside of this internal questioning. And that's a really good indicator to kind of know where you fall. So because of that, gray area drinkers tend not to be real anxious to quit. It's not something that they really want to do. It's like, well, nothing's happened to me, so everything's fine. And that's kind of the false perception to have over it, because the truth is you already know the truth. If you're already secretly questioning, like, am I drinking too much? Is there a problem? The answer is yes. If you're already asking yourself, do you think you're drinking too much? And if you have a problem, the answer is yes. And it's something that you really need to pay attention to. So for my own personal enough, when it came, it was the summer of 2016. And I had some ugly choice words with my youngest son, who also does not drink now. And I don't remember saying half of what I said to him until the next day when he told me. And let's just say that it's nothing that a mother should ever say to their child.
Sure.
And that was my wake-up call. And I continued to drink another 6 weeks after that. I still wasn't quite ready. There's stages of change that one needs to go through. So for me in that point, I was in what they call the pre-contemplation stage. I knew that I had to do something, and I started the preparation stage of like, what does that look like for me? So I took the traditional route. I went to AA, and I did that for a couple of months. I thought it was a good program for most people, and it certainly did help me with providing me with some tools and some of the knowledge, I guess you could say, and education that I needed to have. But I did not identify with being an alcoholic, and I didn't identify with claiming a label and saying that I was an alcoholic when I didn't truly feel that I was. And I didn't want to go to a meeting every single week, or every day for that matter, and feel like I was going to be powerless and broken for the rest of my life. Now, I love the 12-step program. I think every human being on the planet should go through a 12-step program because I believe in it so much. But for me personally, it's not where I felt I belonged. And that's not for everybody. There are people that love it and believe in it, and it works for them. And I'm so grateful for the program for those people. But for me personally, I wasn't identifying. So at that point, I left AA. I found a life coach that I worked with, and that experience rocked my world. So much so that that is exactly why I decided to become a certified life coach myself, because of the life-changing benefits that I found with working with him. And now I get to do that same type of work with my clients and really change their life. But this happened over, it took about a year for all that to come together. I got my certification in late 2018 and launched the business and been practicing coaching ever since. And it's absolutely the most rewarding thing I could ever have done. And I believe so strongly that I was meant to go through all of those things in my life, whether it was from my childhood trauma all the way up to having a problem with drinking, for me to get to this place so I can help others go through the same.
Yeah, what a powerful story, and what a great way to take your experiences and then turn that around and use that as a powerful new identity of helping other people, as something that's more empowering than for waking up every day and saying, I'm an alcoholic. You're not an alcoholic. You are someone now who is helping people to navigate something that's very, very difficult, but something that you have successfully navigated. And that identity is so important. And I think that's critical in your process of working with people. And I wonder if you could take us through that process. What are some things that people listening to this right now, if they recognize this if they recognize this behavior, whether it's alcohol or whether it's overeating or something else, but they recognize this self-sabotaging behavior, what are some things that they need to begin doing and thinking right now that would, like you're saying, is the pre-contemplation stage? What would be some things you could suggest to get them a little bit farther down the road?
Well, thank you for asking this. A really good question. So the first thing I would say is really become aware. You already have this innate kind of internal awareness that's happening. So pay attention to that. The other thing I love to recommend is get out a sheet of paper and write like a pros and cons list. The reasons why you want to keep drinking and the reasons why you think you should. This will establish a why. It'll establish a desire for change and also show you on paper what your why is. This was one of the first things that I did, and it was incredible that what I saw staring back at me. And so my reasons for drinking, and I'll share it with you, my reasons for drinking was, I love it. It tastes so good. I can keep my friends. I have fun. It's fun, and I go places. Literally, that's what the list was.
Wow.
I got to the other side of my cons list, or the reasons why I should quit drinking. The number one, I don't want to say the number one reason, but the number one that I wrote down was, it will save my life. And from that point forward, I had a tear in my eye. And from that point moving forward, I wrote down the rest. It'll help me lose weight. It'll help me save money. I'll have healthier skin. I'll have a healthier mind. I'll be able to be present and show up for my family. And when I saw these reasons and how they completely outweighed the reasons to keep drinking,
right, that
was sort of my indicator that I needed to do this. I needed to put my foot forward and put my foot down and stand up for myself. And that is the hardest thing to do, Ralph, is for someone to raise their hand and say, you know what? I think I might need some extra help, or I might need support. Maybe some people don't want to think of needing help. Maybe it's a little guidance or direction, whatever it is. And from that point, finding somebody to be with, to work with, whether it's a coach like myself, or maybe it is AA, or maybe it's another type of program, but not remaining idle and alone is really key. So a couple things besides doing the pros and cons list, taking a look at that, really becoming aware, preparing for what that might look like, maybe cutting back on the drinking and see how that feels throughout the week. See if you're able to do that and start replacing it with some other items. But it's about understanding the reasons why you're reaching for those things in the first place. It never is about the drinking. It's always about a deep-rooted issue that is causing you to feel this way and to numb your feelings to the point where it's driving you to drink. So that's the part that I get to work on with my clients, is understanding the reason why. And that is where the magic happens, because anybody can quit drinking for a week or two. That's not that hard. I'm talking a gray area drinker. I'm not talking somebody who's severely addicted. Mm-hmm. For those that do identify as being an alcoholic or severely abusing alcohol, or consider themselves addicts are not my type of client that I would work with. I would recommend them to somebody else that I have, several references that I can lead them to somebody else that would be better suited.
Sure.
But for somebody who's in that gray area, I take them through a process that we discover what's really going on and we work through those issues. And a lot of it's limiting beliefs. We all have them. So understanding what they are and navigating through that process. And what happens is, the name of my business is Gray Tonic. And the reason why it's Gray Tonic is because they're stuck in the gray area and I become their tonic. And tonic means medicinal, restorative, boost, invigorator. It means strengthener. It means all these beautiful words. And so I like to think of myself as the tonic to whatever's ailing them in the gray area. So that's the reason why for the name.
I love that. Yeah. So the website is graytonic.com, and you've got a community group on Facebook. You have coaching programs. You also offer corporate training. So there's lots of different ways that people can reach out to you and get the support that they need, or at least to get pointed in the right direction.
Yes, that's right. So Gray Tonic, just for the listeners, it's Gray, and I know gray can be spelled with an E as well, but it is with an A. So yeah, I offer two types of coaching programs. I have a group coaching program, and that's in a group setting, obviously, and that's a 6-week program. It's kind of a fast track program, and then the last week they work with me just one-on-one. And then I have my one-on-one coaching, which is what I really recommend for those people that are in it to win, that are truly devoted to their success, and we can really spend more time on working on those things. And that's either a 3 or 6 month program, and that's with daily support. I talk to my clients every single day. We have weekly one-on-one calls that are about 75 minutes in length, and that's a great way for someone to really reach their highest potential. And then I also have Question the Drink, which is a private Facebook group. And that is an awesome group. We have all kinds of drinkers in there. We have people with years of being alcohol free. We have some that are still drinking and just exploring what this life looks like. And that's really my message too, is I'm not pounding somebody over the head and saying, hey, you need to quit drinking. My message is more in the lines of, let's question where you are with your relationship with alcohol. I have plenty of friends that drink and they don't have a problem at all. And of course, I'm advocating a life without alcohol. But if somebody wants to drink and they don't have a problem with it, then that's fine too for those people that choose to do that. So in the Question the Drink group, there are plenty of people that are kind of all over in this spectrum, but they're all there to support each other. I offer trainings in there, and we had our second Monday mocktail happy hour. So I try to host some fun events. Yeah, mocktail happy hour. Just to keep the community.
Yeah. But what's great about this is that wherever you are, wherever you're listening right now, you can access this support online. And the great thing about it is studies have shown that getting this type of coaching online is just as effective as group therapy or some in-person counseling, meaning that the results are just as good online as it is offline. So don't let anything stop you from reaching out and getting the support that you need. You can find out more by going to graytonic.com. That's GRAY tonic.com. And we'll have that link on the Rebelpreneur website so you can click straight through. Carrie, we've only just begun, I feel like, to dive into this topic, but very timely and I think very apropos for so many of our listeners who may recognize themselves in the things that we are talking about. So I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your wisdom with us. Any final thoughts that you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, it's funny. My sort of like, if you will, tagline is you don't need recovery. You need discovery. And a lot of people get frightened by that word recovery. And that's why I don't use it. I don't need to recover. I'm perfectly fine just as I am. And I'm not broken. I'm not powerless. I'm not a label. I just needed to discover this inner strength that I knew was inside of me. And that's what I encourage for the listeners to know, that we all possess this power within us and we just need to find it. And that's what I'd like to do. It's my privilege and honor to do that with someone.
Very well said. Carrie Schweer is a life learner, a 7-time career path conqueror, speaker, writer, life coach, mom, wife for over 30 years, and an entrepreneur. She's also a former gray area drinker that was stuck in a place of confusion and wondered how she landed there. If that resonates with you and you'd like to find out more, go to graytonic.com. Carrie, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today on Rebelpreneur Radio. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Ralph. Thanks so much for having me.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogdon. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.